Chapter 5, Mishnah 3. Our sages derive from a verse in the Torah that when someone commits me'ilah, the article of hekdesh leaves hekdesh and loses its sanctity. See Gemara 18a. The Mishnah discusses a consequence of that law and when the law applies. A person does not commit me'ilah through misusing a hekdesh article after someone has already committed me'ilah with it, except in a case involving an unblemished animal consecrated as a korban, or a kli sheres consecrated for use in the Beis Hamikdash. Korbanos and kli sheres have kedushas haguf, physical sanctity, and cannot be redeemed. Whether the sanctity of an item of hekdesh can be removed through me'ilah depends on whether it can be redeemed from hekdesh and its sanctity transferred onto money. Since a korban or a kli sheres cannot be redeemed, the act of me'ilah does not take it out of the domain of hekdesh, and it remains with its sanctity. Thus, each person who misuses it will be liable for me'ilah. An item that has kedushas damim, monetary sanctity, on the other hand, can be redeemed from hekdesh. Therefore, it leaves the domain of hekdesh when someone commits me'ilah with it and becomes chulin, unconsecrated. The Mishnah gives examples of cases where a number of people can be liable for me'ilah for misusing the same object. How is me'ilah committed more than once with a korban or kli sheres? If someone wrote on an unblemished animal consecrated as a korban, and then his fellow came and wrote on it, and then another fellow came and wrote on it. Or if someone drank from a golden goblet consecrated as a kli sheres, and then his fellow came and drank from it, and then another fellow came and drank from it. Or if someone plucked hair from an unblemished chatas animal, and then his fellow came and plucked hair from it, and then another fellow came and plucked hair from it. In all of these cases, all of them, the three who rode the animal, the three who drank from the goblet, and the three who plucked the hair of the chatas, have committed me'ilah, since the article remains with its sanctity even after the first me'ilah. Another Tana takes this even further. Rebbe says, regarding any hekdesh article that is not subject to redemption, including an animal that was designated as a korban, which later developed a blemish and was slaughtered without first being redeemed, a person can commit me'ilah by misusing it even after someone has already committed me'ilah with it. For an animal to be redeemed, it must undergo standing and assessing, meaning that it must stand on its own before a Kohen, who then assumes its value for redemption. See Vayikra chapter 27, verses 11 and 12. According to Rebbe, that requirement applies not only to an animal that was donated to the Beis Hamikdash treasury, but even to one that was designated as a korban and later developed a blemish. Now, such an animal must be redeemed before slaughtering it. If it was not redeemed beforehand, it can no longer be redeemed, since it cannot stand on its own after it has been slaughtered. Since it can no longer be redeemed, it remains subject to me'ilah. The Tanna Kama, however, holds that if the animal was not redeemed, it can be redeemed even after it was slaughtered, since, in his opinion, the requirement that an animal must stand on its own to be redeemed applies only to an animal that was donated to the Beis Hamikdash treasury, not to a korban that developed a blemish. Therefore, since an item that can be redeemed loses its sanctity through me'ilah, the Tanna Kama holds that once someone commits me'ilah with a blemished korban, it loses its sanctity and is no longer subject to me'ilah.